All right, everybody. Welcome to episode 109 of Sports Hype. There is a lot to get through today, so bear with me with these talking points. First and foremost, there's one thing that we have to touch on in the NFL, and that is the New England Patriots and Ramondre Stevenson agreeing to a 4-year, $36 million extension with $17 million guaranteed. So we'll give our thoughts on that. And then we'll jump into the NBA, where there's been a lot of news as of late with free agency coming up starting tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern. So these teams are starting to get their free agents intact. Scotty Barnes signed a 5-year rookie max extension with the Toronto Raptors that could be worth up to $270 million. So we'll give our thoughts on that. OG Anunoby intends to sign a 5-year, $212.5 million contract to return to the Knicks once free agency starts. Give our thoughts on that. And then a lot of other players are working on their contracts, including Jamal Murray, and the Nuggets are working towards a 4-year, $209 million extension. So we'll give our thoughts on that. Pascal Siakam did sign a 4-year, $189.5 million deal with the Pacers. So we'll see what my co-host thinks about that. Emmanuel quickly does intend to sign a 5-year, $175 million contract to stay with the Toronto Raptors. So give our thoughts on that. And then Bam Adebayo did sign a 3-year, $166 million extension with the Heat. We don't have the Heat fan with us today, so we can't get his input, but we'll give our input. And then Jimmy Butler won't sign an extension with Miami Heat. That came out, and he will enter free agency next season. So we'll give our thoughts on both the Bam Adebayo situation along with the Jimmy Butler situation, and give the best landing spots for Jimmy Butler if he does decide to leave come next season. Nick Claxton intends to sign a 4-year, $100 million deal to return to the Nets with $96 million guaranteed. Malik Monk agreed to a new 4-year, $78 million deal to return to the Sacramento Kings. D'Angelo Russell did opt into his $18.7 million player option with the Lakers, but that does not mean he's going to stay on the Lakers. The Lakers are intent on moving him. They want to move him. So this was the best situation that could have happened for the Lakers, because it gives them the opportunity to trade him and get something back for him instead of him walking for free. So we'll go through what's next for him and the Lakers. As I said, it has been rumored that the Lakers don't want him back. And then LeBron James today did opt out of his $51.4 million player option. The expectation is that he'll resign with the Lakers on a new deal. He is willing to take a pay cut for players that can help him win a championship. And those players that he wants to, in order to take that pay cut, is James Harden, Klay Thompson, or Jonas Valanciunas. Those are the three people that he would take a pay cut for, as his agent Rich Paul did announce today. So we'll give our thoughts on all of that. The Lakers do intend to offer him a 3-year, $162 million deal if he does decide to go that route instead of taking a pay cut. So either way, it does look like LeBron will stay in LA. And the other LA team, Paul George, did opt out of his $49 million player option, and it's looking like he's going to leave the Clippers. This makes him an unrestricted free agent, so we'll give him the best landing spots if he leaves. Woj just announced that he is going to meet with the Clippers, the Magic, and the 76ers come tomorrow night. So we'll give the best landing spot for him if he does decide to leave the Clippers. Then there has been a few big trades in the NBA as well. None bigger than the Nets trading Mikal Bridges to the Knicks for Bojan Bogdanovic, 4 unprotected first-round picks, 2025, 2027, 2029, and 2031, along with a protected first-round pick via the Milwaukee Bucks and an unprotected pick swap and a second-rounder. So we'll give our thoughts on that trade. And then last night, the Atlanta Hawks traded DeJounte Murray to the New Orleans Pelicans for Larry Nance Jr., Dyson Daniels, the 2025 first-round pick via the Lakers, and a 2027 first-round pick, which is the least favorable of the Bucks Pelicans. So we'll give our thoughts on that deal as well. And then the Chicago Bulls did trade Alex Caruso to the Oklahoma City Thunder for Josh Giddey. So we'll give our thoughts on that deal. And the Mavericks traded Tim Hardaway Jr. and 3 second-round picks, 2025 second and 2 2028 seconds to the Detroit Pistons for Quentin Grimes. This was solely to clear up cap space. They are also trying to make a push at Klay Thompson. So we'll give our thoughts on that deal and what it means for the Mavericks. And then the Wizards did trade Danny Avdija to the Portland Trailblazers for Malcolm Brogdon, the 14th pick in the draft, which they used, obviously, and a 2029 first-round pick, along with 2 future second-round picks. So we'll give our thoughts on that deal. Then there has been a few coaching hires and firing as well. The Pistons fired Monty Williams. I personally think it was the wrong decision, but we'll see what my co-host thinks about that when we get there as well. The JJ Redick did finally agree on a 4-year deal to become the Lakers' next head coach. This was the most likely situation since the Lakers fired Darvin Ham, and it finally happened. So we'll give our thoughts on that. And then the Cavaliers did come to a conclusion on their coaching search as well. They hired Kenny Atkinson to a 5-year deal to become their next head coach. So we'll give our thoughts on that. And then the Timberwolves and Chris Finch did agree on a 4-year extension that ties him to the team through the 2027 through 28 season. Obviously, most likely was the right move, but we'll see what my co-host thinks about that. Jeff Van Gundy did also get back into the coaching realms. He is the top assistant on Ty Lue's Clippers staff now. So we'll give our thoughts on what we think about that. And then LeBron James and Bronny James did make history this past Thursday, I believe it was, when Bronny James was drafted 55th on the Lakers, becoming the first father-son duo and teammates in NBA history. So we'll give our thoughts on that situation. And then finally, to wrap it up, the Celtics obviously did win the championship, their 18th championship, first time in 16 years they won the championship. So they eliminated the Mavericks in 5. So we'll go through how they were able to finally get over the hump and what went wrong for the Mavericks. And then Jaylen Brown was named Finals MVP. So we'll go through if that was the right decision or not. So starting with Ramondre Stevenson and the Patriots agreed to a 4-year, $36 million extension with $17 million guaranteed. What's your thoughts on that, Gio?
Yeah, that was a great move for them. Lead running back. And in order for Drake May to get the spacing that he needs and the timing that he needs in order to develop, you do need a great running back in order to take, the majority part of the load for the offense. And in order for Drake May to develop, I think this is a great move for the Patriots' future. And then, I mean, he's not, I don't want to say he's like a top 5 running back. He's not even, in my opinion, a top 7 running back. He's a good enough running back to where he can make a difference in the game and that he can make smart plays, and then hopefully win the Patriots some games, down the line close to where they can possibly make the difference and, for a playoff berth.
Yeah, I agree. I think this was the right move, especially with Ezekiel Elliott leaving them. They really had no running backs if they let Stevenson walk. So this was the right move by the Patriots to keep him. I mean, he is, in my opinion, probably their best player at the moment. So you can't let your best player walk. And that was why they extended him. And yeah, it also opens up a lot of options for Drake May. They don't have to just throw the ball now. He can develop and run the ball as well. So that opens up a lot of things for a rookie quarterback.
Right.
But moving on to Scotty Barnes signing a 5-year max rookie extension with the Raptors that could be worth up to $270 million. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, you just said it about Stevenson. I think Scotty Barnes is the future. I think he is their best player by far. Yeah, you have Emmanuel Quickly. Yeah, you have RJ Barrett. But Scotty Barnes is projected to be a top 5, if not a top 10 player in the league, right? At one point in a time in his career, heading into the future, I think if you do want to win, into the future, I think Scotty Barnes is the way to go. He's the leader of the team, and that contract shows exactly why he is the leader of the team.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is the right move. He's a key piece to the Raptors, and if they let him walk, they would not be nearly as good as they would be with him on the team. You can't afford to let him walk, so signing him to this extension was a very necessary move for the Raptors.
For sure.
But OG Anunoby was rumored to potentially leave the Knicks, but now it's looking like he will sign a 5-year, $212.5 million contract to return to the Knicks. So what do you think about that?
Great piece, key piece, especially defensively. You need OG Anunoby in order to play in the playoffs. We saw that this previous postseason. The only thing that I'm worried about is size with the New York Knicks. Yeah, we're going to talk about Mikal Bridges. You're re-signing OG Anunoby. You have the Villanova boys and, Josh Hart, Dante DiVincenzo, Jalen Brunson, right? You still have Mitch Robinson, still there. He's on and off, though, or maybe I think did he get traded?
I think he's a free agent as of right now.
Free agent as of right now. If you keep Mitch, he's a great weapon, inside, obviously, with the offensive rebounding, defensive rebounding, defense, interior defense. Julius Randle is the biggest question mark, in my opinion. You have to get rid of Julius Randle. You already have, this great interior squad, right? That's creating a culture of team basketball, team, camaraderie. I don't think Julius Randle is the answer for the New York Knicks. You can move him for another key piece. Hopefully, you can get a larger piece, right? Maybe a power forward, another great wing to go alongside OG. Let's think about, like a Paul George trade possibly with Julius Randle. Let's think about possibly trying to get another, hopefully center possibly. Who knows? Maybe you can try to get like Clint Capella or maybe John Collins and some other pieces from Atlanta. Maybe you can go to. I don't think anyone wants to leave the Jazz as of right now, like a Walker Kessler, right?
Well, the Jazz were trying to get Mikal Bridges, and since they didn't get him, they are in the market for trades. Like they're willing to trade anybody, is what I'm hearing.
So if that's the case, go to the Jet. If you can get like a Walker Kessler, a great young big, right, has a lot of potential in the future, and can help win you a championship now, right? We just saw that with the Boston Celtics and with the Dallas Mavericks, where they have young guys playing like a Pritchard for the Boston Celtics, or like a Derek Lively for the Dallas Mavericks. He was a rookie, and he made such an impact in the playoffs that led them to the NBA Finals. I mean, Walker Kessler can do the exact same thing with the New York Knicks. He's very consistent in his playing time. He's a great offensive and defensive threat. I mean, there's no downside to having Walker Kessler on your team.
Yeah, I agree. I think OG Anunoby, obviously, you had to keep him. If you lost him, your defense would take a huge hit. Yes, Mikal Bridges is a great defender, but not to the lengths that OG Anunoby is. You had to make sure that you kept him. So keeping him along with getting Mikal Bridges is a huge win for the Knicks. But I agree with you. I mean, you're building a great Villanova team. Let's say it. I mean, they have 4 Villanova players. You're basically building the Villanova team that won the championship. The biggest question mark still remains Julius Randle, like you said. I mean, if you have Mikal Bridges, you have Jalen Brunson, you have Josh Hart, and you have Dante DiVincenzo. Where does Julius Randle fall in that mix? I don't think he falls anywhere close to being better than any of those guys on that team. So he is the most expendable right now. And yeah, I mean, if the Jazz are willing to sell, obviously the only player they're wanting to keep right now that I'm hearing is Lauri Markkanen. If they are willing to sell on a Colin Sexton or a Walker Kessler, whatever the case may be, if you lose Isaiah Hartenstein, go and get a big from them, especially if they're looking to be active in the trade market.
Right, 100%. The only thing I'm looking for is size right now. You don't have size as the New York Knicks, right?
Right.
You have a lot of great guards. You have a lot of great hustle. Josh Hart is very undersized, but he gets the job done. I'm just worried about his health, if he can withstand doing the exact same thing he did this season, because it took a toll on him, and you saw that in the postseason. His body was breaking down dramatically at the end of it. Let's try to get Josh Hart some help so that he doesn't have to do the exact same thing. He's such a great player, such a great, teammate. I mean, they all tried so hard. They all tried so hard this playoffs to where they were all breaking down. The reason why that happened is because they were smaller and they just couldn't out strength the other teams like Boston. This is where size is really needed in order to win that next level. Or not, they didn't beat Boston, but I'm not saying they didn't play Boston, but they would have.
Well, they played Indiana, and Indiana had a lot more size in them, and that's why they lost.
That too, right? But I think the size is the only missing piece to this great, Villanova Knicks team. And once they get that, I think it's a wrap, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I think they are poised to make a run to the Eastern Conference Finals, if not the finals, depending on how the Celtics look next year. Obviously, we've seen teams who won the championship the next year don't pan out as well, and that's been a theme in the NBA. So these teams are making moves to take down the Celtics, and that's what the Knicks have done. Like you said, the key issue is health. OG Anunoby also couldn't stay healthy. If he stayed healthy in that Pacers series, maybe it would have been a different result. So that's one thing that worries me about this contract for the Anunoby is his health. But if he can stay healthy, then this is huge for the Knicks. And if they can find a way to keep OG Anunoby, get Mikal Bridges, and also keep Isaiah Hartenstein, that would be a huge triple win for the Knicks.
Right.
So, I mean, it's looking like Isaiah Hartenstein might go somewhere else, but it's also rumored that he wants to come back to New York and try to win there because he had a great role there. I mean, if I was him, I'd probably re-sign with the Knicks.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens. But yeah, like you said, biggest question marks are health, one, and then obviously Julius Randle. So I think they're going to keep Julius. I don't think it's the right choice, but I think they will.
Right. I don't know about it. I guarantee you he's moved by February.
Oh yeah, if it's not panning out by the trade deadline, there's no way he'll be on the team by after the trade deadline.
I don't think it's gonna. I mean, I'm guaranteeing you that he will be off in New York Knicks by February. Because, yeah, like you said, there's no great trade suitors right now, right, for Julius Randle.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That changes a lot within a season when you have disgruntled teams, when you have disgruntled players, when you have people that can't really play with each other anymore. Like, who knows? Honestly, Anthony Davis, if the Lakers aren't playing well, if Anthony Davis isn't playing well, is he out? Is it time for Anthony Davis to, not be a Laker anymore?
Yeah, I mean, you never know. Like we've seen it happen with, Kevin Durant in season, Kyrie Irving in season. Like it happens every season. One superstar player will get disgruntled and ask out, and then that's all it takes for the Knicks to say, "All right, bye, Julius."
100%, and that's the exact moment they're looking for. Like you just said, Kevin Durant, if it's not working out with the Phoenix Suns, he wants out. We already heard rumors that he wants to go to New York, right? He wants to be a Knickerbocker.
Mm-hmm.
They get Kevin Durant. Yeah, they don't add too much size, but that offensive threat can take so much off of Jalen Brunson, Dante DiVincenzo, OG Anunoby, right? And that will help them defensively as well because since the offensive load is taken away for them, that defensive load, they'll be ready for it.
Right. I mean, also like Donovan Mitchell has been linked to the Knicks for many years now. Obviously, it's looking like he will stay in Cleveland, but if he does re-sign and him and Garland aren't getting along and they're not playing good, he's going to ask out.
100%. And this is a very interesting time in the NBA because so many teams are competing for that championship. Yeah, people think Boston is miles ahead. I don't think that one bit. Everyone thought Denver was miles ahead after last year's championship.
Right.
I realize now anything can happen. Okay. It is so competitive in the East to where everyone's going to be making moves upon moves if it's not panning out so that they can be like, okay, this is our year. Let's try to win now. Let's not try to win in the future.
Exactly. And like, that's great. The Celtics won the championship, but now they got a target on their back. Teams will build to take them down, just like the Minnesota Timberwolves built a team to take down the Nuggets. The same thing's going to happen to the Boston Celtics and potentially the New York Knicks. I think that's why they're making these moves. They're like, we have to make a move that can get us over the hump against the Celtics.
Right.
And I just don't. Yes, the Celtics are a great team, but two-peating and even three-peating is a very difficult thing to do in the NBA these days.
I agree. And don't tell me right now the Los Angeles Lakers don't see that number 18 banner hanging right now or going to be hanging this next season. I think LeBron's hungry. I think Anthony Davis is definitely hungry. He was in my opinion, he was a top 3 player in the league last year. Offensively and defensively. Have LeBron James. You might need to move D'Lo since if he's not consistent. Then you have a hungry LeBron James with his son. Who doesn't want to win a championship with his son? So
exactly. I mean, yeah, and like LeBron has never been willing to take a pay cut. Now he is. I think he's hungry and willing to do whatever it takes to win a championship, and that's why he's willing to take a pay cut to stay with the Lakers in order to help them get a player that can help them win.
100%.
So we'll see what happens, but it's going to be a very interesting free agency first and foremost, and then a very interesting trade deadline come when it comes.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of the Nuggets, Jamal Murray and Denver are working towards a 4-year, $200 million extension. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, 100%. Great idea. I mean, he is by far one of the best players in the playoffs when it comes down to it. And realistically, who are you going to get to fit better with Nikola Jokic rather, other than Jamal Murray? And I don't think there is a player. So this is the smartest move they can do.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, like you said, there's no other player that fits perfectly with Nikola Jokic than Jamal Murray. You have to make sure you keep Jamal Murray. I know their season didn't pin up the way they wanted this past year, but Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic were a huge reason why the year before this past year they won a championship. So you can't just let them walk.
Right.
So this was a great move by the Nuggets and well-deserved for Jamal Murray as well.
For sure.
And then Pascal Siakam did sign a 4-year, $189.5 million deal with the Pacers. Obviously, he was traded to the Pacers mid last season, and it was expected to re-sign, and now he finally has. So what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, this is a great re-signing. One, it helped him beat, right? He played perfectly in the playoffs until he played against the Celtics. He's just gonna get better with that team. They're gonna, fit better. The only player, where is TJ McConnell in all this?
Yeah, I think if I'm correct, I think he's a restricted free agent this year.
He's a restricted free agent. I mean, we'll see what happens. But to me, Pascal Siakam, TJ McConnell are your two key players to win in the playoffs. Yeah, Tyrese is there. Yeah, Miles is there. But those two players and, TJ and Pascal, those are the guys you need to re-sign.
Yeah, 100%. So I just looked it up, and TJ's a free agent. So you have to obviously Keeping Pascal was number one. They did that, but TJ McConnell is just as important as Pascal Siakam is to the Indiana Pacers, and we saw that in the series against the Knicks.
100%.
So that's the second thing they have to do. But this was obviously well deserved for Pascal. He's a great player on the Pacers, probably the best player on the Pacers in my opinion, and he was a huge reason why they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. If they didn't make that trade mid-season, I don't think they would have been close to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Right.
So great signing and well deserved for Pascal Siakam. Emmanuel quickly does intend to sign a 5-year, $175 million contract to stay with the Raptors. Obviously, he was traded mid last season as well at the trade deadline. So what's your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, why not for him, right? You're with a team that's rebuilding. You're a very young, talented player. You get the ball more than you did when you were on the Knicks. Right. I don't think he's going to get the ball more anywhere else. When he re-signs this contract, I mean, you're going to have the ability to get even bigger contract because I think he's going to turn into a superstar.
Yeah, I agree. I think this was a great move for Quickly and for the Raptors. Obviously, they're building for the future, and Quickly is a big part of that future. So this was a much-needed move for them. Gary Trent Jr. is a free agent, so he most likely rumored is that he will leave. So we'll see what happens there. But it'll be more opportunities for Emmanuel Quickly in the years to come. So this was a great contract for him and a great move by the Raptors.
For sure.
So there is some questions about the Heat and Jimmy Butler, but before we get into that, we'll go into Bam Adebayo signing a 3-year, $166 million extension. So what's your thoughts on that extension?
I mean, I love Bam. Do I believe he's worth that right now? No, I don't, because I haven't seen him perform in the playoffs. You don't deserve that kind of money unless you perform in the playoffs. Jamal Murray has performed in the playoffs. Anthony Davis performed in the playoffs.
Even in 2020, when they made the finals, you think that was more Jimmy than Bam?
100% that was Jimmy.
But
Jimmy Butler,
it's not
that team on his back, offensively and defensively.
Yeah, but I don't think it was just Jimmy. I think Bam also helped a little bit.
Where was Bam Adebayo in the timely matter that he needed? Yeah, he had great blocks.
In the finals he was nowhere to be found. That's just plain and simple.
No, it was all Jimmy Butler. He was doing everything on a rolled ankle, and he was gassed.
You can't.
I mean, you can't. I love him as a player. I think he has great effort. He's a very talented big man in the league. When it is very tough, when you have Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic, Anthony Davis, right?
The list goes on.
Right, the list does go on for big man, and for you to be a top 3, if not a top 5 big man in the league, is a feat in its own. But when you don't play in the playoffs, I don't think you deserve that kind of contract.
Yeah, I can see that. I do think it was needed for the Heat to re-sign him, though, because obviously you can't let him walk. But
Right, he's the top 5, center in the league, but until you play in the playoffs, it's just not fathomable for me.
yeah, that's fair. I think it was the right move by the Heat to give him this extension, though. And I think it was well deserved for Bam. Obviously, like you said, he doesn't perform in the playoffs yet, but I think his game has improved year by year, and he's shown that. And I think he's going to continue to improve, and hopefully, eventually, he won't be a playoff dud such as James Harden, Paul George, those type of players. Hopefully he's not those type of players who play great in the regular season and then fall off in the playoffs. Because if that's the case, then this will be a terrible contract for the Heat and won't lead them to any winning.
For sure.
But the player that they really need to re-sign and won't sign an extension is Jimmy Butler. He will enter free agency next season. He had the choice to extend this year or not. He decided not to. So what do you think is the best landing spot for him if he does decide to leave next year?
Yeah, so I'm going to say this once, and I think it's going to be the Philadelphia 76ers.
That's the first team that came to my mind when I saw this as well. If they don't get Paul George, that's fine, because next year you got Jimmy Butler in free agency. Go and spend all your money on him. You should have never let him walk in the first place.
But the only thing is, he said he did not like how the front office was managed, right? He didn't believe that they were a winning franchise, didn't believe that they were willing to do what it takes to win a championship, right? And that's why he loved the Miami Heat.
Right. It's also, I think him and Joel, if he does go back there, might have bad blood.
I think but when they played together, it was a perfect fit. Like they were
100%.
one shot away from reaching the
Mhm.
NBA Finals and possibly winning. Because I think those injuries for the Golden State Warriors were going to happen either way. Their bodies were not taking it, right? Either way,
Right.
those injuries were going to happen. So I think Philly wins that championship. The rest is history. That's best landing spot in my opinion. But for team wise, where he could go though, I mean, I could see him going to Chicago possibly. Back to Chicago, right? I could pleasure. I think he could go to possibly LA, maybe one of the LA teams, right? Why not Golden State?
I mean, he could. They were in the running for Paul George until he decided to opt out of his contract. So they obviously are still trying to win. So he could go to Golden State.
We still want to win. At that time, I don't think they're gonna have a great forward, right?
No, I mean, they're most likely going to lose Klay. They're going to have to replace Klay, if not this offseason, next offseason.
Right. So if that's the case, and if that's what happens, Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, Kuminga, those young kids, why not?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of options for Jimmy Butler. I don't think he'd go back to Chicago because I think he's trying to win. I don't think Chicago's going to win anytime soon. So I don't think he'd go back there, but I could see him going back to Philly. I could see Golden State. And I mean, he did say 22 looks good in purple and gold. So you never know. He could come to an LA team if he wasn't, trying to milk the media, which we all know he was.
Oh, 100%.
But team, I don't know. I think team fit wise, he's best on Miami. Like,
Yeah.
he's best off staying there, no matter what, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
But if this season doesn't pan out the way he wants it to, I don't think he'll stay in Miami. I see him leaving if they're another play-in team again and don't make it past the first round.
Yeah, I could see that.
So we'll see what happens there, but a lot of questions going into Miami this year, so they're going to have to find a way to win in order to keep Jimmy next year. But Nick Claxton does intend to sign a 4-year, $100 million deal to return to the Brooklyn Nets with $96 million guaranteed. So what's your thoughts on that deal?
I'm sorry, who was it?
Nick Claxton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the Nets.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, why not? I think that entire franchise is, I'm going to be honest, it is just as worse as the Detroit Pistons right now, in my opinion.
I mean, it is because
it's terrible.
They literally came out after the Mikal Bridges trade and said, yeah, we're rebuilding. Ben Simmons on the board, Daron Sharp, who else? Cam Johnson, Dorian Finney-Smith. They put all 4 of those players on the board.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a terrible run organization right now, and they're just rebuilding.
That's it. Yeah, it's terrible.
But, I mean, he is going to be the guy there because, as I said, those 4 are on the trade market. They're most likely all 4 will be traded come the end of free agency. So he's going to be the guy, and I think that's why he decided to re-sign there. I don't think he really cares about winning right now. He just wants money, and that's what he got.
Might as well. I mean, he's a young kid. He wants to be, financially set, for the rest of his life and for the rest of his family's life. So at this point in time, he can't really get a big contract anywhere else.
Right.
Or not the Detroit Nets, but the Brooklyn Nets. They're the best team for him to get that big contract. So congratulations to him making that bag. Hopefully he has a good season next year.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it was the right move for him and for the Nets, even though they're most likely going to stink this upcoming year.
Right.
But a team that doesn't stink did get their 6th Man of the Year candidate back. Malik Monk did agree to a new 4-year, $78 million deal to return to the Sacramento Kings. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, just stating the obvious, this is the best move they could have done. Malik Monk is that star, in my opinion. He is a star in the league. And it was unfortunate for them this year that they couldn't have him as much as they wanted to. It's unfortunate that they lost to they beat the Golden State Warriors, but they lost in the first round, right? Or they lost to the Pelicans or something like that, right? In the plan. In the plan.
Yeah.
Second playing game.
Yeah. What team are we talking about again? Sorry.
The Sacramento Kings, they beat the Golden State Warriors. They lost to the Pelicans.
The Warriors lost to the Pelicans, yeah.
So, I mean, they didn't have the postseason that they wanted to. It was unfortunate for them. But then again, it is so competitive in the West. I think they'll have a different outcome this year. I think they'll be ready for it this year. And, you never know. Maybe they reach the Western Conference Finals this year with that team.
I mean, the reason they were fell to a play-in team, first and foremost, was injuries. Kevin Huerter and Malik Monk, those injuries absolutely killed them. They were, I believe, the 6th seed until those injuries happened, and then they fell to the 9th seed. So with that team, they most likely would have at least made the second round, in my opinion. They had that type of potential. So that really killed them. And this was obviously, like you said, that was the best move they could have done. Malik Monk was going to be the 6th man of the year until he fell to that injury. So they had to find a way to retain him. So that was a great move by the Kings and well-deserved contracts for Malik Monk.
For sure.
And obviously they were the 3 seed last year. I think they still had Malik. So they have a winning team. It's just they have to put the pieces together and stay healthy.
Right.
And I think they will do that this year. I won't be surprised if they're a top 6 seed come again this upcoming year.
100%.
But getting into the player options, last night D'Angelo Russell did opt into his $18.7 million player option with the Lakers. So what do you think is next for him and the Lakers, as it has been rumored that the Lakers do not want him back?
Next thing for him is to pray, in my opinion. He has.
I mean, he said what I saw is that he said he re-signed because he wants to play under JJ and he thinks that he can take a leap under JJ. But to me, it's like, you're not going to get the chance to do that, buddy.
I think he could. I'm not going to lie. I think JJ Redick is one of those coaches is like LeBron James, in my opinion. He's gonna coach, make you better, right? He's not
Oh, I
gonna
agree. Like
coach.
if D'Lo stayed on the team, he would improve. But I just don't think the Lakers want to keep him on the team anymore after the past two playoffs where he threw up duds.
He did. But at the same time, I do believe JJ Redick could improve D'Angelo Russell, which is the truth. He's not going to stay there, though, like you said, because of the two duds. I think the best thing is to get rid of him, start somewhere fresh for him, bring in some new talent, some key pieces to help LeBron James and Anthony Davis in the postseason. Because right now, they don't have the depth that they obviously need to win a championship.
No.
They don't have the size. Realistically, they don't have it. They have guards. Gabe Vincent's not panning out.
Mm.
It's just that team needs a little help right now. But the best thing to do right now is to move D'Lo first, and then see where everything else falls.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I said when I was going through the talk points, this was the best thing that could happen for the Lakers. Everyone's saying like, "Oh, he's going to stay on the Lakers." That stinks for the Lakers. No, it was the best possible move because we already came to the conclusion that we're trading D'Lo no matter what. If he opted out, we were just going to sign him and trade him. But this way, he's already on the team. We don't have to sign him. We can just trade him for something that will help us win this upcoming year. I mean, they've come to the conclusion that the Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell backcourt has reached its ceiling, and they want to keep Reeves over D'Angelo Russell, which I believe obviously is the right move. So,
Yeah, right.
I mean, D'Lo is most likely, in my opinion, in the next 2 to 3 days, come free agency, will be off the Lakers. It's just a matter of who they trade him for. I mean, obviously Trae Young is an option, but very unlikely is what I'm hearing because of his he switched from Clutch Sports, that whole debacle with his agent. But there's also, like I said, Cam Johnson's available. I've heard that. There's a lot of people available on the Jazz. There's options out there for the Lakers where they can get better with trading D'Angelo Russell.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. Jordan Clarkson would be better off as a Laker once again, other than D'Angelo Russell. I think he would impact that team a lot more than D'Lo has.
I mean, that's why I'm like, it's off topic a little bit, but like people are like saying Klay Thompson's washed, but like on the Lakers, he wouldn't be the second option. He would be the fourth option, and he'd
Right.
be in the corner catching and shooting, which is what he is best at.
And who's the best player to play with LeBron James? J.R. Smith, Kyle Korver, Ray Allen, Mike Miller. Those types of players are massive for
They
LeBron James.
thrive. Yeah.
They thrive and they win with LeBron because that connection where with LeBron James driving to the hoop, kicking out to those guys, to an elite shooter, it is money every time.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why I think Jordan Clarkson, if we do go that route on the Jazz, or Colin Sexton, whoever we get from the Jazz, if we do go that route, or whoever we get for D'Angelo Russell, I mean, anyone will be a better fit than D'Lo because D'Lo needs the ball in his hands to succeed. We need a player where they don't need the ball in their hands and they can just thrive off LeBron's passing.
Right.
And I mean, I think Cam Johnson is a great option for that. It's just we have to get, in my opinion, more back. If we're going to go for a Jordan Clarkson or D'Angelo Russell, we'd have to get more back instead of giving more and just getting one of those players.
100%. I think it would be like a Jordan Clarkson and possibly a Colin Sexton type of scenario. Maybe something else. It
I was thinking like
Johnson or Royce O'Neal.
Right, yeah, like going to the Nets, I was thinking Cam Johnson and Dorian Finney-Smith because both of them are rumored to be on the trade market by the Nets.
Right.
So, I mean, there's a lot of options for the Lakers, and I do believe that D'Angelo Russell, whether it be by the end of free agency or by the trade deadline, will be off the Lakers very soon.
For sure.
But sticking with the Lakers, their star player LeBron James did opt out of his $51.4 million player option. Obviously, the expectation is he'll resign with the Lakers on a new deal. He is willing to take a pay cut, but it has to be for the right player. And as I said, those three players that he wants, one of these three players is James Harden, Klay Thompson, or Jonas Valanciunas. Klay is the one that is main right now in the Lakers rumors, and he is very intrigued by playing with LeBron James, and obviously his dad is a broadcaster there, so has some ties there. So, what's your thoughts on this whole situation with LeBron James and the Lakers?
I think this is perfect. For LeBron James to opt out of this like he did, he wants to win. He wants to win one more at least.
100%.
Beautiful. Jonas Valanciunas, oh my goodness, just having him on the
Bro,
rebound
I mean,
game would be
like, so
Lakers.
the two that I would want are Klay or Jonas. I don't think James Harden would be a great fit. Obviously, he's a great player. I just don't think he'd be a great fit.
I think it would take the load off of LeBron James, regarding having the ball in his hand and running the offense.
Mhm.
But like you said, the fit wise, Klay Thompson, Jonas Valanciunas would be beautiful. It's like having JaVale McGee again. It's like having Dwight Howard again. Klay Thompson, like I said, again, it's like Mike Miller. It's like Ray Allen. It's like J.R. Smith or Kyle Korver. They won championships with LeBron James.
Right. And like,
I think Kyle Korver didn't.
I mean, Anthony Davis has been whining about playing the 5 ever since they got rid of JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard. You get a player like Jonas Valanciunas, throw him back to the 4, he's happy and back at the position where he thrives.
Right.
And I mean, if it is Klay Thompson, it's Klay Thompson. Like I said, I think he is not the same Klay Thompson he used to be, but he still is a great to average defender, and an average to great shooter. And that's two things that the Lakers desperately need.
100%.
So, I mean, this is great for the Lakers, and I'm very happy that LeBron is willing to take a pay cut to win. It shows me that he is still wanting to win. It's all up to Rob Pelinka and Jeanie Buss now to deliver, because he's willing to do his part. It's up to them to deliver now.
Right.
So we'll see what happens, but it's going to be a very interesting offseason for the Lakers is what it looks like.
For sure.
But going across the hall to the Los Angeles Clippers, Paul George did opt out of his $49 million player option, which makes him an unrestricted free agent come tomorrow at 6 p.m. As I said, he's going to meet with the Clippers, he's going to meet with the Magic, and he's going to meet with the 76ers. The 76ers are real threats to sign him as of right now. He was rumored to the Warriors, but since he opted out, they don't have enough cap space to bring him over there. So what do you think is the best landing spot out of those three if he does leave the Clippers?
You said Philly, Warriors, and what else?
Magic.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Warriors aren't an option anymore because they don't have enough cap space.
I think the Magic are the best option in my opinion.
Really?
Yeah, it would be good and all. I don't think him and Joel Embiid would be a good fit. I think the Magic, he could be a leader. I think he could go back to his roots like he was in, in Indiana. I think he could be the guy, in my opinion. Yeah, you have Paolo Banchero. You have Markel Fultz. You have the two brothers, Wagner brothers.
Well, Mo Wagner, they declined his team option. They do want to bring him back, but you never know. They declined his option. He is a free agent as of right now.
That is interesting. But at the same time, I still believe that Paul George would be the best fit. Being on the Magic, he'd benefit more. He'd be able to pretty much run the team per se. I think they would go farther in the playoffs. I think they would be a better version of the Cleveland Cavaliers this year with Donovan Mitchell, where Paul George could have run the team, a young team like Donovan Mitchell did.
Yeah, that's an interesting take. Me personally, I think the 76ers are the best landing spot. I think him and Embiid would be similar to what him and Jimmy Butler were when Jimmy Butler was there. Obviously, the one thing that will hurt them is that both Embiid and Paul George, durability-wise, aren't great. And two, in the playoffs, they both tend to disappear. So will it be enough to win a championship? I don't think so, but it would be enough to get them close to a championship, in my opinion.
I don't like this narrative that Paul George disappears in the playoffs. Yeah, he hasn't played, well when he was on the Clippers. He played fine when he was in OKC. And he played fantastic when he was in Indiana. Like, no one could stop him when he was in Indiana. It's not like
that's when he was in his prime, though. It
was before the injury.
Yeah, he was in his prime.
He wasn't even close to his prime, in my opinion. Before that injury, he didn't reach his peak.
You don't think so?
I don't think he reached his peak before that injury on Team USA.
That's an interesting take, but I think personally, Indiana was his prime, in my opinion.
Oh, 100%. That was the best years of his career. But I'm saying it's not for me. It's not like James Harden. James Harden has
Oh yeah,
never
no.
played in the playoffs well, right?
I mean, we could also go, D'Angelo Russell. Like, there's a lot of players out there.
Right. But I'm saying at least we have the evidence and the history of Paul George dominating and taking LeBron James and that Miami Heat team to I think a game 7 in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Mm-hmm.
That is why I don't like people saying playoff P doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, he has shown success in the playoffs. It's just as of late, I'll say this: as of late, he has not.
That's right. But I think,
and if that continues, it's not going to work out with the Sixers if he does sign there, which is, in my opinion, most likely going to happen.
I think the change of scenery is what he needs. I think he can do it. I think he'll play in the playoffs again. We'll see playoff P once again in the Eastern Conference.
We'll see, but I do have a question for you. If Paul George does leave the Clippers, is Kawhi Leonard and Paul George the biggest dud of a duo in recent history?
I think they are the biggest dud in recent history, but in my opinion, the largest dud of all time is that Brooklyn Nets team with James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, I agree with that. But duo-wise, I think Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, they were, supposed to win a championship, yet they couldn't even get to more than one conference finals. So I think this was a terrible bust for the Clippers, especially with what they had to give up for Paul George, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
There's so much pressure on Paul George to win a championship there with Kawhi Leonard. Yeah, Kawhi Leonard recently fresh off of a championship. Paul George had an MVP type season with OKC. But just think about this. To put the pressure on two guys in a three-star league as of right now, you need three guys to win a championship.
Yeah, I mean, that's very true. They also didn't take into consideration the roster around them until this upcoming year when they got James Harden and Russell Westbrook, but still wasn't enough, obviously. And they also didn't take into consideration both their durability issues. That's what really killed them these past 4 or 5 years it was.
Yeah, they did. I believe they didn't take that into consideration, like you said. But to me, it's like, okay, perfect. We have Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. We don't need anybody else. That's not the case.
No, you needed a lot more, and that showed.
Right.
Yeah, it's very, very bad management by the Clippers, and it stinks that it didn't work out for them, but we'll see what happens in the future because obviously Kawhi is going to stay. Yeah. Russ opted into his player option. Harden, we don't know what's going to happen there, but I mean, it's not looking good for the Clippers as of right now.
Right.
But getting to a team that it is looking good for in the East, obviously we touched on it a little bit. The Nets did trade Mikal Bridges to the New York Knicks for Bojan Bogdanovic, 4 unprotected first-round picks, 2025, 2027, 2029, and 2031 are when the first-round picks will be. Protected first-round pick via the Milwaukee Bucks, and then an unprotected pick swap and a second-rounder. So what's your thoughts on that deal?
I think this is perfect. I think Mikal Bridges makes that team so much better. They're ready to win now. Everyone expected this to happen. The only, like I said previously, size is the only key issue with the New York Knicks. The Milwaukee Bucks, I don't know what's going on with them. And then obviously you said it first, the Brooklyn Nets are just blowing everything up.
Yeah. I mean, this was obviously it was a shock because I mean I didn't think the Nets would trade Mikal Bridges to the Knicks. I mean, it was rumored, but it never came out like they were in the works. It just came out of nowhere. So I was shocked by this trade, but great trade for the Knicks. I mean, it puts them closer to a championship. They're still not there yet. They still have a few little tweaks here and there, but if they make those tweaks in free agency, they could be a real threat for a championship come this upcoming season.
For sure.
Um, but I mean, they're the Villanova Knicks now. They're not New York.
Yeah.
But the Hawks did trade DeJounte Murray to the Pelicans for Larry Nance Jr., Dyson Daniels, a 2025 first-round pick, which is the Lakers pick that they deferred from this draft, and a 2027 first-round pick, which is the least favorable of the Bucks Pelicans. So what's your thoughts on that deal?
I think this is a good deal for them.
For the Pelicans?
Yeah, because one, it helps them win now.
So, I mean, you did say that they should trade Brandon Ingram, I believe is what you said. Do you still believe that now that they got DeJounte Murray?
I'm sorry?
Do you still believe that they should trade Brandon Ingram now that they got DeJounte?
No, because I think you need Brandon Ingram as an offensive weapon. DeJounte's great, but you need all the pieces you have now.
Well, I think the one person that they still need to look into trading, in my opinion, is CJ McCollum.
Yes. I do believe DeJounte does take his spot on the Pelicans team. But
I mean, also, if you do keep CJ, Murray is a point guard. CJ is a natural shooting guard. He was never a natural point guard. I think playing him out of position did hurt him as well.
for sure, but I was about to say he is a leader of that team. He's the reason why they went to the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. I think this was a great move for the Pelicans. They are obviously trying to get out of the play-in and get to at least a top 6 seed and potentially out of the first round. They're just trying to make better leaps each year, and this is a move that can help them do that. For the Hawks, though, I think it's time to go into rebuild mode, and I think this is what they're showing.
I agree, and I think they're going to do that. But it was unfortunate they couldn't get anything done. They were close a couple of years, but now it's time to move on.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's very, very disappointing tenure for the Hawks with DeJounte Murray and Trae Young. People are saying Trae Young should stay now that DeJounte's out, but if I'm Trae Young, I'm getting out of there because it's clear that we're not winning anytime soon.
Yeah, I think I think Trae Young should be heading out.
I mean, the rumor is that they're rebuilding. The only players that they're keeping is obviously the player they picked in the draft, and then Jalen Johnson. Those are the only rumors that they are. Those are the only players that they are saying are untouchable. The others are on the market per se.
Right.
So that's going to be a very busy offseason for the Hawks, in my opinion. I think they're going to look very different come next season.
Yep.
But this was the biggest shock so far for me. The Chicago Bulls did trade Alex Caruso to the Oklahoma City Thunder for Josh Giddey. So what's your thoughts on that trade?
Yeah, they traded their hard on defense. OKC is a scary team now. They have that playoff experience. They have a championship, player. I do believe that OKC now is a force to be reckoned with. And might as well that they're going to the Western Conference Finals. That's my take. And I mean, yeah, we'll see what AC the GOAT can do.
Yeah, I mean, this was a terrible trade for the Bulls, but a great trade for the Oklahoma City Thunder. This gets them closer to not necessarily the finals, but like you said, closer to at least a conference finals, which is where they were very close to this past year. And I think they saw they needed more defensive help, and that's exactly what they got with Alex Caruso. I mean, Lou Dort and Alex Caruso, those are two of the best wing defenders in the league, and now they're on the same team. It's going to be very hard for teams to get by those two.
Yep.
So great trade for the Thunder, but I think it's time for the Bulls to blow it up too, and I think that's what they showed with that trade.
For sure.
So the Mavericks did trade Tim Hardaway Jr. and 3 second-round picks to the Detroit Pistons. The second-round picks are 2025 and 2028. So they got Quentin Grimes back. As I said, this was solely for cap purposes. They're trying to make a big push for Klay Thompson. So what's your thoughts on this deal?
Yeah, I mean, A good move.
Do you
I
think
mean,
Klay fits if he goes there?
because where?
Fits in Dallas if they do end up getting him, because that's who they wanting to go after.
Yeah, I mean, he would fit there. You need the shooting. You need the offensive shooting, firepower. And unfortunately, Timmy wasn't cut in it. He didn't play well last year.
Right.
You're trying to win a championship, you go to the finals and you're not utilized. Yeah, something needs to change. And now Klay Thompson can come in and be that superstar that everyone thinks he is still. In my opinion, like superstar meaning shooting wise,
Mm-hmm.
and help them hopefully get over that hump and win a championship.
I think he fits better on the Lakers personally because he will be more off ball in LA if he does go there over the Mavericks. But both teams are great fits for him. I agree, because Luka and Kyrie handle the ball the majority of the time in Dallas, and they need another guy who can score. And Klay Thompson is exactly that guy if they do end up getting him.
Right.
But obviously the Pistons, we all know what they're going through. They're rebuilding for years to come. That's why they did this trade. I don't expect them to keep Tim Hardaway Jr. like at all. Surprised he hasn't been bought out yet, but I do expect him to be bought out and then sign wherever he wants to in free agency.
Right.
But overall, good move for the Mavericks, making some free cap space. But I do wish, like you said, that they give Tim Hardaway Jr. a little bit more of a chance in these playoffs specifically and in the past few years.
Yep.
Another rebuilding team, the Washington Wizards, did trade Deni Avdija to the Portland Trailblazers for Malcolm Brogdon, the 14th pick in the draft, and then a 2029 first-round pick, along with 2 future second-round picks. So what's your thoughts on that deal?
Sorry, what was the deal?
Deni Avdija to the Trailblazers.
Yeah, I mean, anything with those two teams isn't worthwhile right now.
I mean, they got Malcolm Brogdon, but rumors are that he's going to be bought out. So there's really no point.
But like, who cares? Honestly,
Yeah.
if you're the Trailblazers and you're just not relevant right now, I'm sorry to say, you're just not.
And the Wizards are a lot of stock in the league, so.
Yeah, I mean, there's just no way that I can try to contemplate how this is a good move for both franchises, to where they're just moving to move right now, right? They're just trying to make some noise, like, hey, we're gonna trade. Sure, go ahead, do it.
I mean, the Wizards are they're rebuilding. I mean, Kuz is on the table. Like, everyone on their team is on the table. That's basically why they did this trade. They're just trying to make a new roster. And then, as you said, the Trailblazers, they're not going anywhere anytime soon. So they're like, might as well do it.
Well, why trade Ajiva if you drafted him like 3 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand the logic of the Washington Wizards front office. I don't think anyone does, but that's why they're the laughing stock of the league.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, this deal didn't really make any promising moves for either teams or promising jumps.
Mm-hmm.
But moving on to coaching, I think this was the wrong move. The Pistons firing Monty Williams, but what's your thoughts on it?
I agree in a way, because he is a great coach, but I don't think with the roster constructed, they believe that he won enough. I think they could have won more, honestly.
Yeah, but what coach out there is going to win you more with the Pistons?
Phil Jackson.
Yeah, but he's never coming back.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, you ask for a coach, I mean, you have to go for the greatest coach of all time, in my opinion. Maybe like Greg Popovich, Phil Jackson. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no coach that could win you more games, right?
Exactly. So, like, I get why they fired him. Like, yeah, he didn't do great, but you put any coach in his shoes, no coach is going to succeed, in my opinion, on Detroit right now.
Right.
So, I mean, it's really a useless move if you ask me. Like, you should have just kept him and then figured out the future come free agency.
Very, very true.
But I do get it though. Obviously, the roster wasn't as bad as it was made out to be. Like the fact they had I think, a 30-game losing streak. I think that's the real reason why he got fired. They're like, yeah, you can't do that and expect to coach.
Right.
But at least he's making money at home now because that was a first of a 5-year, like $70 million deal or something like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. Detroit, they're not going anywhere for a long time.
Nope.
But JJ Redick did agree on a 4-year deal to become the Lakers' next head coach. I'll let you give your input before I give mine.
Yeah. I believe he was the best option out there. He's more enthusiastic, in my opinion, than Dan Hurley. He's a great basketball
mind. We saw that in his intro press conference, which I'll get to in a little bit.
Yeah. And for him to be the next head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers, I think this is perfect because, like I said, I think he can benefit and he can maximize every player's potential. I think he's going to be a great coach for years to come. He's going to be the guy that wins you guys in the next championship. He will be that type of Pat Riley-esque back in the day. And that's all you can ask for.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a great move for the Lakers. Obviously, they missed out on Dan Hurley. But after what I saw in JJ's intro press conference and what he has said since becoming the head coach of the Lakers, he's sold me. He has absolutely sold me. I was a little skeptical at first, but after seeing what he has been saying and what he said in his intro press conference, specifically when he said that he knows what he signed up for, like he knows it's championship or bust. Me and you talked about a few days ago where we talked about no Lakers coach in the past has ever said that. JJ knows what he's signing up for. And that is a necessary attribute for the Lakers coach. And I think he knows that he has to win and he's willing to win, to do whatever it takes to win. And as we have seen in this podcast and his broadcasting career and everything, he's a great basketball mind and he has a perfect mind to be a basketball coach. And I think he's going to be great for the Lakers and prove a lot of people wrong.
Exactly.
But I just love when he said that he doesn't care about the haters.
Yeah.
Using a nicer word than he said, of course.
Yeah.
But I think that's very necessary as a Lakers coach is to drown out the noise and just do your job. And that's obviously what he's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Then get into your team where they hired Kenny Atkinson to a 5-year deal, the Cavaliers, that is. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, good move. I mean, was he a good coach with Brooklyn? I don't think so. Did he learn a lot when he was with the Warriors? I do believe he did that. I think he can redeem himself as a head coach. Being with the Cleveland Cavaliers, I think that's a good start for him. Good fresh start. Having Donovan Mitchell, having a great defensive team, whereas in the Nets, he didn't really have a great defensive team. We'll see what he does here. But again, I don't think we should have got rid of JB Bickerstaff. But since he did lose the locker room, this is a good fresh start for Kenny Atkinson. Let's see what he has to do.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a high risk, high reward hire, similar to JJ Redick for the Lakers. I agree. They shouldn't have fired Bickerstaff. I think he did a great job the past few years, but obviously he lost the locker room. You can't keep a coach who loses the locker room, similar to why Darvin Ham was fired. So we'll see what happens for the Cavs. I think Kenny Atkinson is a better coach than most people give him credit for. Yeah, he didn't succeed on the Nets, but he did help them at least build them to a playoff team, which is more I can say than any other Nets coach after him. So I think he's a good coach, and he learned under one of the best in Steve Kerr. So hopefully he can translate that to being a successful coach for the Cavs.
Yep.
But getting to a already known coach that got an extension, Minnesota Timberwolves and Chris Finch did agree on a 4-year extension that ties him to the team through the 2027 through 28 season. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, this is a great move for them. I think he's the best guy for the job. Well, I mean, Will they win a championship? I'm not sure, but who's out there that's better that can win that team?
I mean, they have the potential to win a championship with the roster they have if they get rid of one of their big men, in my opinion.
Right.
And yeah, Chris Finch is one of the best coaches in the league right now. This is a much needed extension for him and much warranted extension and much deserved. So I think this was the right move by the Timberwolves, and congratulations to Chris Finch.
100%. I'm just not sure if Anthony Edwards can lead a team in this league right now.
Well, he can't, and that's why, in my opinion, it's very important they keep Mike Conley because he was the leader on that team.
No, I think Anthony Edwards was the leader. I just don't think you can win a championship solely off of Anthony Edwards' greatness.
Well, you can't, but like that's also why you have to trade one of Rudy or Cat for a player that can help him.
I think they should have drafted a better player, in my opinion.
Who they get?
Was it Dillingham? No, it wasn't Dillingham. I don't know.
No, they did get Dillingham. They traded for him from the Spurs.
Right. I just don't think personally he's going to be that guy to really maximize and help Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, I can agree with that. But I think they also have to make some roster moves. Specifically, one of Gobert or Cat has to go for a player that can move the needle for Anthony Edwards and the Timberwolves.
Yep.
But we'll see what happens. But either way, this is a much warranted and much deserved extension for Chris Finch.
Yeah, sure.
Moving on to a coach that's been out of the game for a while, but is now back into the coaching as an assistant. Jeff Van Gundy will be a top assistant on Ty Lue's Clippers staff. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, this is a great move for him. I think if he wants to get back into coaching, this is a great, little step for him to get back into coaching. Ty Lue needs all the help he can get in that Clippers team. Will they win a championship with him? I'm not sure. But this is a great step for them moving forward to possibly, reach their goal in winning a championship.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a great move. Van Gundy has a great basketball mind. Obviously, he was let go by ESPN, and so he had to get some type of a job, and obviously he wanted to go back to coaching. So congrats to him, and I think he's going to be a great mind to lean on for Ty Lue in the years to come.
Yep.
And then we'll get to history being made this past Thursday with LeBron James and Bronny James becoming the first father-son duo and teammates in NBA history after the Lakers selected Bronny at number 55. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, this is probably the greatest feat in LeBron James's career. In order to, to play as long as he did, to play with his son, he had to recover. He had to have the longevity that he's had, and this is awesome. And I mean, we're never going to see this again. Why LeBron James is the greatest player of all time, if not the second greatest player of all time. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So congratulations to him. Congratulations to his son. I don't care what any of the haters say about the nepotism or whatnot. LeBron James Jr. does deserve to be on an NBA team. I've been saying this. His game is tailored for the NBA, not for the collegiate level. And we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I was going to get into that. It's been really bothering me that people are saying, oh, he got drafted because of his dad. No. He got drafted because of his work ethic and the work he's put in from day one. That's why he got drafted. And the NBA doesn't go solely off of points per game like people on Twitter do. They go off of potential. Bronny James has great potential, and that is why he is now in the NBA. As Woj said after Bronny got drafted, nepotism has been in the league for years. It's not just coming out of nowhere. It's been in the league. It's been rampant for years. And the only reason it's, such or like being talked about now is because it's LeBron James, one, and two, it's the Lakers. Two things that a lot of people don't like in the world right now, and that's why it's being talked about more than it has in the past. I mean, you think Thanasis Antetokounmpo would be on an NBA roster if it weren't for his brother? No. So why isn't that talked about? It's because it's not LeBron James or the Lakers. It's really that simple.
I don't think it's the Lakers. I think it is 100% LeBron James. I don't think the Lakers has to. I think LeBron James was on any other team, it would still be talked about like it is right now. It's because now the haters can say something because LeBron James has been so great. He hasn't done anything wrong. Now you can say, "Oh, it's because of his son." I think this is terrible. This is a terrible outlook for his son. I mean, he's just a kid. He doesn't deserve any of
Bro,
this.
he's just trying to live out his dream. Just let him live.
Right.
And like the fact that people are saying, "Oh, he sucks. He averaged 4.8 points per game." You try going out there after nearly dying in a workout and playing a full game, because I know it would affect me mentally, and I know for a fact it affected him mentally, even though he doesn't say it.
Yeah.
Like the fact that people just throw that over their heads and are like, "Oh, he sucked in college." Like, bro, he nearly died of a heart attack playing the game he loves. That would be in the back of my mind every time I step on the court. I don't know if I would even be able to step back onto the court. So the fact that he was able to do that shows a lot about him alone.
Yeah. I do believe that it does suck for those players that probably deserved a spot, deserved a draft more than him.
The thing, like people are acting like number 55 is like the top 10 pick. There wasn't many players available that are better than Bronny James at that position, in my opinion.
I mean, there was a couple guys that were undrafted. The only thing I believe is that he showed better workouts in that draft combine. He showed better professionalism. Like I said, he is tailored for the NBA. He's been preparing for this his entire life. Those kids have been preparing basketball. They haven't been preparing for the NBA. Bronny has been preparing for the NBA his entire life. So that's why he showed out, and they were like, "Oh wow, we can't believe the professionalism of this kid. We can't believe the work ethic of this kid. We can't believe the talent of this kid." And he showed out. I mean, he barely missed a shot in those workouts. It's not like he didn't try.
Exactly. Like the people are acting like he's terrible because all they watch is college highlights. Watch the combine or his workout with the Lakers, and you'll see that he has great potential. That is why he was drafted. It's not solely because he was LeBron James' son. Yes, that had a part to do with it, but it's also because the Lakers know that he can be a great role player for years to come.
Right.
And I just really don't like how people are saying it was just he got drafted because of his dad. Like that would really bother me if I were him, and I'm sure it does.
Right.
But hopefully, come season, if he is on the roster or in the G League, wherever he starts out, hopefully he proves those haters wrong.
Yep.
And then to wrap up the podcast, we'll talk about, obviously, the Celtics eliminating the Mavericks in 5 to win the NBA championship. I believe it was their first one since 2010 or something like that, in 16 years, something like that. So how are they finally able to get over the hump, in your opinion?
So, yeah, since 2008, with that championship team with Kevin Garnett and those guys, I'm going to congratulate Jaylen Brown, first and foremost. I think he's the reason why they won that championship. Next, I'm going to thank, or congratulate Drew Holiday on just an epic performance this entire year, this entire postseason, defensively and offensively. Then I'm going to congratulate Jason Tatum. Why is he third? Because of those two first guys. The way they played, they wouldn't have reached where they were. Jason Tatum, yeah, great. He had
Jason
pretty much iPadded the entire time.
Bro, he had so many duds in the first few rounds, and he wasn't even that great in the finals. Like, yeah, he put up a lot of assists and rebounds, but if you look at his shooting and his shooting efficiency, he wasn't that great.
And that's the reason why I believe Jaylen Brown and Drew Holiday were the reasons they won that championship.
I mean, if they don't have Drew Holiday, they wouldn't be in the finals, in my opinion. He is that great of a defender.
They didn't have Jaylen Brown. Same thing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Kristaps is a different story because they basically got there without him. I mean, he got hurt in the first round, but without Drew Holiday and Jaylen Brown, that team would not be where they were this past year.
Yeah.
But how do you think that they were able to get over the hump after 16 years, though? What do you think finally did it for them?
What finally did it for them? One, luck. A lot of luck played into this. You had injury upon injury for they played against the Eastern Conference.
Mhm.
They probably had the easiest path. Then they had to go up against a Dallas Mavericks team who is very young, who's never been in that position before, other than Kyrie Irving. Those guys on the Celtics went to the finals before, so they were battle tested. They understood what they needed to do in order to win a championship. Um, so I think it was pure, let's just say this: it's pure experience. You know how young that Celtics team was in the last couple of years. Their leaders were Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They had no idea how to get to the finals until they did it for the first time in 2022.
Right. I think a big thing that finally got them over the hump was size. One, including Kristaps, especially Kristaps Porzingis, and then two was Drew Holiday. I mean, we saw what he did for the Bucks in 2021 when they won the championship. He did the same exact thing for the Celtics this past year, and that's a big reason why they're able to win number 18.
That's right.
So what do you think went wrong for the Mavericks in the finals?
Experience. I think experience is the key factor. One, Luka Doncic was gassed in the conference finals. Two, I think your only leader in Kyrie Irving didn't really show up because they knew how to play against him. They were a teammate of his. They knew how to defend him.
I think it's what is it, like 12 straight losses in the Garden for Kyrie now, 13, something like that, since he got traded.
Exactly, and I do believe that that played a factor in it. I think Luka Doncic being gassed played a factor in it. I think the other guys not going to reaching the finals before played a factor into it. And then, it all comes down to experience, and that's why the Celtics won.
Yeah, I agree. I think experience was a big part, but I also think the main reason the Mavericks lost was lack of size. They had absolutely no answer for Kristaps Porzingis from the beginning, and that showed in Game 1 when he torched them. And they just didn't adjust their defense enough to where they could contain Kristaps Porzingis or Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum. Like they switched everything. You can't switch everything against the Celtics. You don't have the luxury to do that, and that's what torched them, in my opinion.
Yep.
So it does stink for the Mavericks. I was hoping that Kyrie would get one more and Luka would get his first, but obviously I also think Luka was not fully healthy and he needs to take better care of his body moving forward, number one. And number two, that man needs to work on defense. He's a defensive liability.
When he wasn't focused defensively, I agree. When he was focused on, missed calls.
When he was focused on in Game 4 per se, when he didn't want to get swept, that's why they blew him out, because he actually played defense.
Right, and I do believe it's because the fact that he wasn't crying for calls, the fact that it wasn't 5 on the breakaway. That's why.
That's the main problem with me with Luka is I love him as a player, but man, stop crying. Get your butt back and play defense. Okay, if you don't, you're not going to get every little call in the playoffs, specifically in the NBA Finals. They don't care about if you get hacked. Like, they're going to let you play. You just got to play through it. Like, the deeper you go in the playoffs, the less calls you're going to get. And I just really don't like how he tries to get every call and argues with the ref instead of getting back.
I agree.
So I agree with that point. He needs to stop worrying about the refs and start playing the game. And when he does do that, we saw what happens. I mean, they blew him out in Game 4 and then obviously got blown out in Game 5. But if they didn't blow him out in Game 4, they would have got swept. So, like, I mean, if Luka played like that throughout the entire series, the series could have gone at least 6 or 7, in my opinion.
Yep, I agree.
So to me, the loss was majority on Luka Doncic. Even though he put up great stats, he didn't do enough to lead his team or even give them a chance against the Celtics. But we'll see what they can do in the upcoming years. Obviously, they need to make a few adjustments, and that's why they're trying to go after Klay Thompson. But for me personally, if I was the Mavericks, I would go after size because that's what I think absolutely killed them against the Celtics. Right. And obviously, as I said, Jaylen Brown was named NBA Finals MVP. I think it was the right decision. I'm assuming you do as well.
I just stated how I think he was him and Drew Holiday. If it wasn't for him, I think it should have been Drew. Other than that, no one else should have won that that MVP.
Yeah, I agree. I think Jaylen Brown was not only the best player in the finals, but in the entire playoffs for the Boston Celtics. Without him, I don't think they honestly would have made the finals. They would have lost somewhere along the line because of just the lack of production they would have had if they didn't have him.
That's right.
But congratulations to the Celtics, and we'll see if they can repeat next year.
Yep.
You got a segment over there?
Yeah. We want to congratulate the Florida Panthers on their first NHL Stanley Cup. So congratulations to those guys. Really, really interesting that Jason Tatum's friend, I can't pronounce his name, Petchik or something like that.
Oh, the hockey player?
Hockey player that, with him.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations to those two guys for winning their own two respective championships. Then also want to shout out the Euro Cup that's happening right now. If you guys like soccer, go watch that. And then other than that, the sneaker world's kind of still pumping through the summer. So there's sneakers coming out all the time. To your own taste. The Abney threes just came out, beautiful looking sneaker. The denim ones just came out, beautiful looking sneaker. You also had some Gorge 3 or 4s come out, white shoe with, green tints to it, beautiful looking sneakers. So yeah, you got a bunch of sneakers coming out. Other than that, nothing really. But what's going on in the video game world? I'm sure we got some great releases. I know that's happening soon.
Yeah, so the Madden NFL 25 trailer did drop this last week, I believe it was, and the drop date did come out as well. So it comes out August 16th, 2024. The game does look very much improved. So if you're into Madden, I would definitely highly recommend going into EA Sports Twitter or Instagram, whatever it may be, and looking at that trailer because it goes through a lot of in-depth things that will change in Madden. So very happy with the way the game is progressing, and hopefully it's as good as advertised. Other than that, thank y'all for watching, and see y'all on the next one.
Hey guys, I'm sure you can, see that Nick is not here, but maybe down in the comments, go find him down there. Please like the video if you guys if you like the podcast. And until next time, two wise men once said, subscribe. Peace.
Peace.